in the midst of untruth, truth persists.
Hello and welcome. I'm Rashan Gidwani and you're watching the World Report on NewsX World. Let's take a look at some of the headlines for this hour. The U.S. Secretary of State predicts a brief conflict lasting only a few weeks without any American ground troops. He confirmed that air power remains the primary strategy for achieving a quick and decisive military victory. U.S. officials confirmed that only one-third of Iran's total missile arsenal has been destroyed by recent strikes. The bulk of their strike power remains fully operational despite the ongoing offensive from the allied coalition forces. Russian and Iranian foreign ministers are discussing formal peace terms as both nations weigh diplomatic solutions to the conflict. They hope to reach a settlement soon to prevent further regional instability and heavy economic losses. Elon Musk joined high-level diplomatic talks between the U.S. and Indian leaders to discuss the ongoing situation in Iran. The discussion focused on technological cooperation and regional stability during this period of intense global geopolitical tension. Prime Minister Albanese amended export laws to protect national energy reserves amid growing global instability and maritime threats. These changes ensure that Australia maintains a steady fuel supply even if international shipping lanes are severely disrupted. Kyiv secured strategic Mideast deals to help counter Iranian drone strikes currently being deployed in the field. These new partnerships provide the Ukrainian military with advanced electronic warfare tools to neutralize incoming threats more effectively now. 12 U.S. troops suffered various injuries after an Iranian missile attack targeted a Saudi military base last night. Medical teams are treating the wounded soldiers while the Pentagon assesses the total damage to the strategic facility. Russia will ban all gasoline exports starting April 1st to protect domestic supplies as the war triggers shortages. This drastic measure aims to stabilize local prices while the conflict in Iran continues to disrupt global markets. And now here are the top stories for this hour. Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi has posted on X saying Israel has struck two of Iran's largest steel factories, a power plant and civilian nuclear sites, in what he called a coordinated attack with the U.S. The Israeli military confirmed that it is striking regime targets across Tehran, with residents reporting around 10 explosions today and black smoke rising from the city. Furthermore, the Israeli army confirmed that a heavy water reactor and a uranium processing plant in central Iran were hit on Friday. According to reports so far, there were no casualties or radiation leaks at these nuclear sites. Meanwhile, Iran's Revolutionary Guards have vowed to retaliate by targeting industrial sites following the strikes on steel factories. Meanwhile, these strikes appear to directly contradict a diplomatic deadline previously extended by the U.S. president. However, the Israeli military maintains that these operations are essential to dismantling the terror regime's capabilities. And now joining us live to tell us more is Matthew Vadam, American journalist, joining us live from Washington, D.C. Sir, good evening to you. With these steel factories being hit, of course it goes against what President Donald Trump wanted. What do you believe the attacks from Iran will be towards Israel? Will they try to essentially wipe out more than just their steel factories? What are your thoughts, sir?
I'm not sure how far Iran wants to go, but Iran is losing the war with the United States, and it is lashing out at other targets. And Israel is always, a convenient target for Iran to hit. So I don't know what they're trying to destroy specifically, but they want to inflict as much suffering and pain on Israel as they can, because they're having a lot of trouble inflicting suffering and pain on U.S. forces. They're not doing very well in their conflict with the United States. So why not go after weaker, smaller targets? I think that's probably the rationale behind what Iran is doing right now. They've also launched other attacks against Saudi Arabia and some of the Gulf states, and I think the reasoning is the same for those attacks as well.
So you mentioned smaller attacks there. Do you believe that these smaller attacks will continue even after diplomacy is tried to be reached by the U.S., that Iran and Israel will continue their own little kind of conflict without U.S. intervention? Essentially, now we also know that there might not be no boots on the ground. So will these countries continue to escalate their own internal conflict in the Middle East or West Asia?
You mean the possibility that the United States will put troops on the ground?
Right now, they're actually saying they won't. It's a bit up in the air.
And they've been saying that the whole time, though they may be forced to actually put some, U.S. servicemen and women at risk in the theater of war. It's possible. It's difficult to oust a government without, direct military involvement. It's not impossible, but it's not an easy thing to do. I think that Iran is going to do what it can with the materials that it has available. It still has a lot of its missiles remaining, and it still has some drones, and it still has, I think, attack boats in its navy, so it can harass shipping, and it can harass military forces from other nations. And so, instead of meeting their enemies, on the field directly, they may engage in this sort of, I don't want to call it guerrilla warfare, but maybe you want to call it asymmetrical warfare. They want to go after, other countries and try and make them pay a price for supporting the war effort against Iran.
Please stay with us, sir. We'll be right back with you. Next up, Israel was hit by an Iranian missile strike late night yesterday that targeted several locations in the Tel Aviv district. In the suburb of Givatayim near Tel Aviv, rescue teams worked to clear debris and secure areas where shop fronts were damaged and apartment shutters were blown off. One person, a 60-year-old man, was killed in Tel Aviv, with several others injured, while no casualties were reported in Givatayim. Let's listen in to some reactions from the affected areas of central Israel.
היו מספר זירות בתחום מחוז תל אביב ברבע לחצות לערך, אחת מהן זו זירה שנמצאת כאן שאנחנו נמצאים בה כרגע. אני לא אציין את המיקום, מדובר בזירת הרס בלבד. אין פה נפגעים בנפש לשמחתנו. כלל הגורמים הגיעו לזירה, כיבוי, מד"א, פיקוד העורף. סגרנו את הזירה, ביצענו את מה שאנחנו צריכים לעשות, כרגע אנחנו ערוכים להמשך עשייה.
היה אזעקה, נסעתי עם האוטו, עמדתי עם האוטו, שמתי לו 4 וינקרים, באתי לרוץ לאזור הזה, כאילו לאזור מקלט, ופתאום היה בום. הסתובבתי, פתאום אני רואה את כל האוטו מפוצץ.
Meanwhile, in Iran, at least 13 people were killed in 2 U.S.-Israeli strikes on residential areas in Kermanshah province. The victims included 2 children and 4 women, where one of them was reported pregnant. Additional U.S.-Israeli strikes in Iran's Zanjan province reportedly left 5 people dead. The Gulf region also continued to see escalating strikes. Iran fired a missile at a U.S. military base in Saudi Arabia, injuring 12 U.S. troops, where 2 of them sustained serious wounds. Saudi air defenses reported intercepting a ballistic missile targeting the Riyadh region. Next up, mortgage rates in the United States have surged amid the ongoing war in Iran, with the average rate for a 30-year fixed mortgage climbing to 6.38%, the largest one-week rise since April 2025. The jump comes as the 10-year Treasury yield rose to about 4.45%, driven by concerns over inflation, economic disruption, and potential supply shocks from the conflict. Long-term borrowing costs for mortgages, credit cards, and car loans are being directly affected. Americans seeking to buy homes are facing thousands of dollars in higher annual payments, and mortgage applications fell 10.5% last week. Meanwhile, more than 42,000 home buying contracts were canceled in February, the highest February share since 2017. Furthermore, global uncertainty and rising gasoline and commodity prices are causing buyers to act cautiously, even as more homes are being listed. Despite higher rates, some investors are seeing better returns in safer financial instruments like money market funds and high-interest savings accounts. Regardless, the housing market is being closely watched as affordability concerns and economic volatility threaten the spring home buying season. Analysts warn that rates could rise further if the Iran conflict continues to disrupt markets. And now joining us live to tell us more is Matthew Vadum, American journalist, joining us live from Washington, D.C. Mr. Vadum, normally when this happens and mortgage rates go up and there is a bit of uncertainty in the market, what would you say happens in the United States as far as sentiment is concerned? Would you, for any instance, or is there a possibility that also crime rates rise? What are the implications of all of this, please?
I don't know that crime rates rise necessarily because of the market uncertainty that is driving the increase in mortgage rates. I think that the increase in mortgage rates is being driven by uncertainty caused by the Iran war. People with money to invest, whether in housing or other investments, tend to get a little bit nervous when the future is uncertain. Even though the U.S. is on track to win the Iran war, it's far from clear how long it will take or what price America is going to have to pay for victory there, and whether the regime is actually the Iranian theocratic terrorist regime is going to be overthrown, because it shows no signs of weakening its grip on domestic governance just yet. People are also, the interest mortgage rates are also rising because of inflation, because of the Federal Reserve's recently expressed reluctance to cut interest rates further. Cutting interest rates, tends to stimulate economic growth, and worldwide uncertainty. This worldwide uncertainty caused by the inability of oil tankers, for the most part, to get through the Strait of Hormuz, affecting 20% of world oil markets, causes fuel prices to rise, and that puts pressure on producers and consumers. It causes prices to rise and generates more economic uncertainty, including among potential home buyers who might have to take out mortgages. So it's a complex mixture of problems, and it is probably not going to get better until the uncertainty is removed, or at least reduced, by, I guess, the U.S. making some more concrete gains in its war against Iran.
So essentially, it will take some time for the market to kind of cool down. So in the meantime, then, would you suggest,
Probably.
or do you have any insight on this, whether investors in the home market or essentially citizens in general should essentially target their funds, if any, towards stocks or money market funds like that? Can you speak on that as well, please?
Well, a lot of people who are nervous about the future have been buying gold, which is why I think the price has fallen back down to about $4,500 per troy ounce. But fairly recently, it was over $5,000 an ounce, and silver prices shot up to, a few weeks ago, were like $110 per troy ounce, and now they're hovering around $70. So a lot of people are investing in precious metals as a way, as a hedge against inflation, and as a means of putting their, they have to put their money somewhere if they're planning to invest. And I think that people are tending to hold off on, taking out mortgages for the time being, because they just don't feel confident about the future. And I think that this trend is probably going to continue. The stock market has fallen thousands of points in recent weeks, and I think a lot of that is related to uncertainty over the oil supply, over prices, over inflation, and just a general feeling of economic malaise. And I don't think it's going to be resolved anytime soon.
All right, Mr. Vadam, thank you so much for joining us. Have a good evening, and we'll
Sure.
speak soon. Now we have some breaking news coming in. The UN nuclear watchdog says it has been informed by Iran of a new strike near the Bushehr nuclear power plant, the third such incident in just 10 days. Iran has assured the International Atomic Energy Agency that the reactor was not damaged. No radiation was released, and the plant continues to operate normally. IAEA Chief Rafael Grossi warned that any strike causing damage to a nuclear reactor could trigger a major radiological disaster, calling on all parties to exercise maximum military restraint. The Bushehr plant, Iran's only operating nuclear reactor, has now been in the spotlight as tensions in the region rise. This series of attacks comes amid growing geopolitical concerns over Iran's nuclear program and regional security. Moving on, Russia has announced that it will ban gasoline exports from the 1st of April next month to prioritize domestic supplies and stabilize fuel prices. The decision follows global turbulence in oil markets caused by the ongoing war in West Asia. A meeting chaired by Deputy Prime Minister Alexander Novak reviewed the domestic petroleum market, focusing on President Putin's goal of preventing fuel prices from rising above forecasted levels. Russia's Ministry of Energy confirmed oil refining rates remain consistent with March 2025 levels, with sufficient gasoline and diesel reserves and high refinery capacity to meet domestic demand. Following the meeting, Novak instructed the Ministry of Energy to draft a resolution banning gasoline exports from the 1st of April to ensure priority supply and price stability for local markets. Simultaneously, India reiterated that it maintains adequate stocks of crude oil, petrol, and diesel while ensuring uninterrupted supply of LNG and LPG amid West Asia conflict disruptions. Indian authorities confirmed refineries are operating at full or above capacity, and domestic LPG production has risen by around 20%. The government said it has taken calibrated measures to manage supply, maintain stability, and secure fuel for the next 2 months despite rising international prices. Now joining us live to tell us more is Professor Veselin Popovsky, Professor and Vice Dean of the Jindal Global Law School, joining us here from New Delhi. Good morning to you, sir. Thank you so much for joining us. So essentially there's two stories there, that India will, or does rather, have reserves for the next 2 months, and Russia is keeping their oil supply within their country. Do you believe that Russia keeping their oil supply domestically will affect the global oil supply? Which countries are they essentially linked with as far as supplying oil to, and how will this affect nations involved?
Mostly India and China are those big importers of Russian gasoline. The fact that the Russians are banning the export can have different explanation, but one of these is that, in fact, a lot of refineries in Russia were hit by Ukrainian drones, and the production itself, for that matter, diminishes. So the Russian economy is in big trouble, and obviously the domestic market demands also supplies. So it's not anything surprising that Russia prefers to supply the domestic market first before exporting its gasoline. On another hand, Russia needs desperately money and to continue the war in Ukraine, which is extremely expensive. It takes human life and equipment every day, millions. So it's really a kind of economic collapse possibly forthcoming in Russia. And those desperate measures by the governments are understandable to that effect. And the importing countries, such as India, but also others, will definitely diversify their supplies, their imports. They are no longer relying on Russia anymore because, well, big market, but if it is so unstable market, obviously India and other countries are looking for alternatives. The problem comes also that the Gulf countries cannot export until the war is over. The Strait of Hormuz is closed. For that matter, the prices may go up. So there are many factors here affecting the global trade, the global energy, the prices of oil, but also energy prices. Investors become very cautious in those times. They prefer to wait and see. So yes, the economy is in difficult times for everyone. Also, even the global economy might end up in recession, similar to 2008, 2009, unless there is some positive development in Israel-Iran conflict, although we don't see much good news there either. So see how many things are here very much interconnected. And for that matter, yes, we need simply to monitor and to analyze. The news changes also every day. Donald Trump doesn't help that with his own always confused and contradictory messages. So yes, it's a difficult time to
Yes, sir.
survive.
Yes, sir. Please stay with us. We'll be right back with you shortly. Next up, U.S. President Donald Trump has signaled that Cuba could be the next focus of Washington after recent actions in Iran and Venezuela. Speaking in Miami, Trump praised U.S. military successes abroad and declared Cuba is next, but stopped short of announcing any concrete military plan. He hinted that while diplomacy is ongoing, the use of force remains an option if required. Let's listen in.
And I think it'll continue to be good. The relationship is extraordinary with Venezuela. Smart country. Hello, everyone. Thank you very much. We have a formula that's been very...
Meanwhile, Cuban President Miguel Diaz-Canel has earlier confirmed that talks with Washington are underway, even as the island faces a deepening economic crisis worsened by fuel shortages and disrupted oil supplies. Now joining us live to tell us more is Professor Veselin Popovsky, professor and vice dean from the Jindal Global Law School, joining us in New Delhi. Sir, essentially the situation in Cuba has seen that some citizens aren't able to even access electricity, there are water shortages and so on and so forth. Do you believe that U.S. intervention will essentially be able to, will essentially allow and enable Cuba to reach an economic standpoint where they're able to afford water security, food security, and energy security? What are your thoughts?
Yes, Roshan, you're right. Yet we talked about uncertainty, and that's another one. Speech by Trump, which creates chaos. You're right. Cuba is under severe hardship after the Venezuela change in January. Venezuela stopped supplying oil and gas to Cuba. We heard about some Russian supplies, but again, as we say, these are very uncertain, they are very risky, they are far away. So Cuba is under severe economic collapse, one can say. Here, basically, it's an easy target. It's nothing to compare with Iran. So if United States wants an easy task similar to what they did in Venezuela, that could be Cuba, a country that cannot really defend itself much. The question is whether the same scenario will evolve the Venezuelan scenario, where you replace the leader with someone who is an American proxy, and that new leader is basically following orders from United States. Quite possible that I wouldn't exclude that, because effectively the population itself is very demoralized after 65 years of communism.
Yes.
The life there is miserable.
Yes, sir.
And for that matter, they have not much expectation of any government in Cuba.
Thank you so much for your time, Mr. Popovsky. We'll speak soon. Much appreciated. Next up, Nepal's former Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli has been arrested in connection with last year's deadly Gen Z anti-corruption protests. Police say they are investigating whether Oli failed to act in time to stop violence that killed dozens of protesters. His former Home Minister, Ramesh Lekak, has also been taken into custody. The arrests come just a day after Balendra Shah took oath as the new Prime Minister, following a massive election win driven by public anger over the killings. Officials confirmed that 76 people died during 2 days of unrest. An investigation panel has already recommended legal action against Oli. Next up, Tiger Woods has been arrested in Florida following a car crash, according to local police. Authorities say the golf legend was charged with driving under the influence. Officials confirmed there were no serious injuries in the accident, and Woods was taken into custody without incident. The investigation into the crash is ongoing, with details about his blood alcohol level yet to be released. Legal experts say Woods will now face the standard DUI process, including a court appearance in the coming days. This incident adds to the former champion's well-documented off-course challenges, and further updates are expected as the case develops. Next up, Apple says its high-security feature Lockdown Mode has not been breached since its launch in 2022. The company confirms it has seen no successful spyware attacks on devices where Lockdown Mode is turned on. This feature is designed to protect users from advanced surveillance tools, including spyware developed by firms like NSO Group. Security experts and groups like Amnesty International also back this claim, saying they have found no evidence of any successful hack on protected devices. Lockdown Mode works by limiting features often exploited by hackers, making attacks far more difficult. Apple has, however, warned users globally about spyware threats in recent years. That's all we have time for. Keep watching NewsX World for more news updates from around the world.